In today's video, I'm going to walk you through how to configure StoreFront Load Balancer on your Citrix ADC, aka your NetScaler, right? So first thing first, you're going to want to open up a web browser and connect to your NetScaler's NSIP. So in my case, mine is the .215 address, and then you're going to want to log in with your admin credentials. So as soon as you authenticate, you should see what you're looking at right now. So you're going to see the system option on the left hand side here, but we're going to want to jump down to traffic management and then go down to load balancing. So of course you're going to want to make sure you have at least two StoreFront servers in your existing environment. So that's going to be one of the prereqs required. We're also going to need an IP address from your actual or for your actual NetScaler virtual IP. So that's going to be the IP we're going to assign to the load balancer. So it's going to be very critical for us. So let's first jump down and actually add those StoreFront servers onto our NetScaler. And you'll see mine already here, but to go through the process so you can see what that looks like, you're going to put in the name of the StoreFront server, whatever name you identify that with. You're going to type in that IP address here. So if mine is, let's say, 121, type that in here, and then we're just going to click create. But I already have mine both here. They should be in enabled state there. And then once that's created, let's jump over to services. So we're going to create a service for each StoreFront server. So you're going to choose existing servers since we already added those. And for the protocol, of course, we're going to want to do SSL for our StoreFront servers. So this will be my StoreFront 1. Hit OK there. And here you'll actually see it's asking me for a monitor. So by default, it's going to utilize a TCP monitor, but we're going to want to add a StoreFront monitor so we can actually look at specific services that are running on that StoreFront server. So I'm going through that process right now. You'll see there's an option called StoreFront down at the bottom. So we're going to select that and then choose select. Choose our store name. So my store name is called store. If we're doing encrypted traffic, so if we're doing SSL, of course we want to choose secure here. So I'm going to choose secure, make sure that's selected. And let's call it StoreFront 2 since I already had a monitor created from before. And you'll see it's right there. And now that should be selected, but let's confirm. Yep, so current state is up, probe successful. We're going to want to, I believe, see if my memory serves me correct. Let's add a client certificate since we're using SSL. And this will be your internal certificate to your StoreFront server. So I'm not going to show this in this video, but you will need to import your wildcard certificate onto your NetScaler. So if you're using, let's say, like some type of certificate authority on your internal domain, you want to export that as a PFX so you can easily import that into your NetScaler because that'll include the private key itself. So it makes it very easy for NetScaler to take that certificate and incorporate that on the actual appliance itself. But once you have the certificate and the monitor there, just hit done. If all is well, you should see it in upstate. If it's not in upstate, either we did something wrong with the service or your StoreFront server is actually down. But let's go ahead and we'll add our second StoreFront server. So StoreFront 2, again, we're going to choose SSL for encrypted traffic, choose OK. And same process. We're going to choose add binding. We're going to select the monitor this time. So I created that StoreFront 2 monitor, so I'll select that one. So again, no reason to create another one again. And then we're going to choose certificates on the right side here. And we're going to add the client certificate. And again, it's going to be the wildcard. And choose done, and that's in upstate as well. So again, what did we just do? We created our servers. So create a connection to our StoreFront servers. We created that monitor, that StoreFront monitor, and we chose the secure box because we're doing encrypted traffic. And then we created a service for both of our StoreFront servers. You could technically create a service group and just include both StoreFront servers on that service group, but I've always learned to do the way of just doing an individual service, so that's what I plan on using for this video at least. But no, you can do both options. So I'm going to delete what I have here. And now we need to actually create a virtual server and put all of these together. So we're going to choose add, and I'll call this, say, like StoreFront LB, and SSL for my traffic, because again, you want that encrypted. And I am using IP address I have available, so I'll call that 171. Hit OK here. And then we are going to choose our two services that we created. So you'll see both of them are here. You can select both at the same time. Choose select and bind, and then continue. We're going to add a server certificate, so that's going to be that wildcard. And yeah, it makes me wonder, I don't remember if we actually have to add that client certificate on the service itself. If anyone knows, if you can comment on the box below. I don't remember, but I know it won't hurt anything by adding that certificate. All right, so we have our virtual server created. I'm going to do a couple more things here. So let's choose method. And you'll see we have a lot of methods of how we're going to actually load balance to our StoreFront servers. So you can do, let's say, like a round robin connection where you're just going back and forth. So every new connection is going to a different StoreFront server. We could do least connection, so it will actually monitor the load on those StoreFront servers and send users to that. So that's the most common way you'd use this load balancer. So I'm going to choose least connection, choose OK, and then same for persistence. So you can either choose a persistent type as source IP, so the last StoreFront server you're going to reconnect to. You could do cookie insert, which is based on the actual browser itself. I always select source IP, so we're going to choose OK for that, and we're going to hit done. So of course we want to make sure all of this saves, so choose the little save button on the top right. And as you can see, we have an upstate, effective upstate, so everything's looking good. We're getting green across the board, but we're not done yet, right? Because even though we have a load balancer, we have to utilize that. So what you're going to want to do at this point is you're going to let's first jump over to our StoreFront server. And you'll see I have my store here. And on my store, I called it citrix.ryan.local. Well, probably what you have right now is if you have a store URL, this prefix, this DNS record's probably pointing to an individual StoreFront server. So of course, what do you have to do? You have to actually go to your DNS, and you're going to want to modify that A record to point to that IP address of that load balancer VIP we just created. So here you'll see I have Citrix going to .121, so that's going to my StoreFront server. Let's go in, let's delete this, and we're going to go ahead and create a new A record. Still going to call it Citrix, but now we're going to point it to the IP address of my StoreFront load balancer VIP that I just created on my NetScaler. So I'll add that there. Got 171 here. So again, Citrix is my store URL. So now if I hit that store URL, it should automatically connect me to one of my StoreFront servers. So to double check that, let's do an IP config flush DNS, and I'm going to do a renew. That's fine. Let's check and see if this works. So if I go to https citrix.ryan.local store web, you can see it's still connecting me. I should be able to authenticate, no problem. And if I can't, that's another issue. And there we go. I am connected to my StoreFront server. So good way to test also ping Citrix. Yep, I'm getting a response from .171, which again, that's my StoreFront load balancer VIP. So kind of straightforward. It's not too difficult to create a StoreFront load balancer. If this did help, or if you have any questions, please let me know in the comment box below. I do plan on creating additional videos, so if you're looking for new content or something in particular, also feel free to write in the comment box. Let me know if you want to see a particular video. Otherwise, really appreciate if you give me a like or subscribe to my channel. Otherwise, thanks everyone.